We're back, Eric. It's Monday after a fantastic weekend. Last week, we were being optimistic and thought, West Virginia can maybe upset one of these four teams if they play all right and the stars line up and the moon and Jupiter, and it happened. And I was beside myself. Eric, how did you handle the performance? West Virginia, did you like do a double take? Did you like pinch yourself?
We got so much to talk about. That was a great game. There was so much to see. There's so many good takeaways from that game.
Yeah, for professional, the Steelers look good. The West Virginia Mountaineers look good. I mean, it just after last week, both of those teams look like hot garbage. West Virginia looked a little better. We were kind of thinking things are looking on the up and up, and if they just play 80% of that, if we get 80% of that performance from Scotty Fox, we said this on the show, 80%. Jiminy Christmas, he didn't get 222 yards compared to 300. I don't know if that's 80%, pretty darn close.
Mm-hmm.
Mountaineers had help from the defense and Lady Luck.
And the run game. That, to me, that was the big thing.
We'll talk about it. We'll go through each player's position scores. And surprising, you said the run game looked as good as it did, because when you look at the scores, their pass performance, the offensive linemen had better numbers. The run defense, or the run, the numbers that they measure the offensive line for rushing, they weren't quite as favorable. But the Hubbard got around, and I'll tell you what, they ate up some yards. Anyways, we're getting ahead of ourselves. Yeah, and Jersey, you are so right. These shows are so much easier when they win. It's it's like, let's pump ourselves up. There's no pumping ourselves up. Eric, this West Virginia, it's hard for you to even talk. I'm so excited. Like, West Virginia looks so good. They have a chance of beating anybody they play these last four games.
So we were talking last week, because I thought the TCU performance I thought there was a lot of positives in that game. And quite honestly, I felt as though if we got some better contribution from the run on the offense, that's what was missing. So is it time to dive into these things now? Are we ready?
Yeah, let's dive in, because there's a lot to talk about. We'll talk tonight about West Virginia's performance. We'll talk about how happy, like, Rich Rod wears his heart on his sleeve. You know exactly what he's feeling, the frustration. You don't need a mood ring to put on his finger to figure out what's up. Also, we'll talk about the games moving forward. How the percentage, like you see, like on ESPN, will say, West Virginia has an 18% chance. Last week we did that, and we went through all the percentages. We'll go through those again. I'll just refresh your memory and see how those changed. But nothing's better than a good performance last week. But Rich Rod only gives these guys 24 hours to kind of enjoy, to savor it, right? But anyways, let's dive in, Eric. Go ahead.
So there's a lot to talk about. I heard and that's the thing. Anytime as your fan base, if you have a win, everybody's happy, everybody's excited. They're talking about all sorts of things, and that's a good thing. Even last week, I started hearing a lot more positivity around the program. This week, it was funny because I heard people talking out of both sides of their mouth. I heard, well, if it weren't for the 4 turnovers, timeout. Turnovers are a huge part of the game, and that is a huge statistic that teams strive for. Teams, if you're on offense, they tell you to secure that ball. If you're on defense, by golly, you're looking to strip it, you're looking to recover. So the fact that we created 4 turnovers, that was huge. And here's something interesting. Do you know how many points we scored off those turnovers?
I don't know. I should know this. 21?
10. So that's okay. What did we win by?
Oh, we won. What was the final
Won
score?
by,
Remember,
we won by 10.
10. See, I can't do
So
math, Eric. You asked me to math it.
see, I put you on too much pressure. I told you to math. Um, so the 4 turnovers, absolutely huge contribution in the game, and it's not luck. That is something that this coaching staff has definitely been preaching. Now, something that's not as much of a controlled factor is the officiating,
Oh yeah.
and the officiating wasn't great. I wouldn't have told you that it cost us the game, but there were big plays that I do think slightly favored Houston. So this was not a game where Houston laid down and just forgot about us. Houston, absolutely. I don't think they were pretenders at number 22. The reason that we beat them by 10 was because of the turnover margin and the scoring off the turnovers. But Houston wouldn't go away. Every time it looked like we might start to pull away, Houston answered. So that's a mark of a good team. And as further evidence that Houston was, how should I say this? They were not sleeping and they were fighting hard. Um, they were playing for their former strength coach, Darren Mustin. Just want to send our condolences to the Houston program and their fan base. That team had dedicated the game to his memory, and he had meant a lot to them. So if anybody thinks they were sleeping on this game,
No.
it wouldn't have mattered who they played. They were going to play, determined, and they definitely did. Much respect to them, and that's you could see it the whole way through. They never gave up.
Yeah, and you know what? They're a well coached team. I was always a fan of Willie Fritz. I think when I first heard of him when he was at Tulane, right? And
Mm-hmm.
he was killing it there. And when I first started working on this show with Joey, I'm like, man, Tulane is it's been 2 years that they've had 10-year or 10-win years, and he has established a good culture there, good football culture. It's just too bad the fan base doesn't share my enthusiasm for their head coach, and for the fact that team was 22, just came off a big upset of Arizona State. Arizona
Mm-hmm.
State is good, okay. Mountaineers have to travel out there in a couple weeks to see if they pass the smell test before the Texas Tech game. See exactly if there's hope, if they can maybe make it a competition for make Texas Tech bleed a little bit before they have to go to the Big 12 championship. Because you and me both were thinking it's going to be BYU and Texas Tech in the Big 12 championship. But back to the Mountaineers. Let's talk about Fiona Biscuit's comment here. Rich Rod has this team that I think if Neil Brown had it would have checked out. Okay, hasn't
Completely agree.
These kids are mercenaries, and mercenaries are very hard to motivate, very hard to lead. Okay, you go back to your history, and Napoleon had a lot of mercenaries. Anyways, but he's getting these kids the ball out.
Mm-hmm.
Even when things aren't going their way. In that game, there were some hiccups, but they kept just hitting and pushing. That line got pushed, and the O-lineman, this is what sums it up. Fiona, you hit the nail on the head. When he grabbed that player and kind of threw him forward, I knew that was a penalty immediately, okay? But I loved it. And I'll take that penalty every stinking time, because if he just pushed him instead of picking him up, that's a first down, okay? That's the type of effort you need. And on defense, it looked like piranhas hitting bait, man. There's like the black jerseys from a week ago that we saw were swarming. They were there, and they were hitting them on the line of scrimmage. It wasn't the fact that one guy missed and the other guys were making up for it. They were really actively just, making that contact at the line of scrimmage and wrapping up. It looked a lot better. And when you look at the PFF scores, one of the cornerbacks had the highest score at 90. So
Scruggs.
Scruggs, yeah. So I was surprised at that. I thought it was going to be Dewar Hubbard, but no. Let's go to the chat real quick, and then we'll hit back up with what we're
Hey,
talking about.
before you mention that,
Yeah.
I wanted to compliment Fiona. Absolutely, that is the kind of heart and effort you want to see. And if they want to call a flag on that, that's fine. It's a dumb rule because like you said, if he's pushing, that's a legal play. But the fact that he's pulling, that's what does it matter? Stupid rule. They need to examine that.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that need to re-examine, especially in college, in NFL, and in high school. The fact that high school, if a kid catches the ball off a kick return in the end zone, it's automatically, they get it. They can't run it out of the end zone. There's so many inconsistencies that just doesn't pass the sniff test. I understand it's for safety sometimes, but I don't think kid being able to run out of the end zone doesn't seem like a big deal. But anyways, so we had all the sides of the ball look like they were kind of just in sync. The communication seemed to be there. Rich Rod, I didn't see him crack a lot of smiles on the sideline, but I didn't see him throwing the F-bomb every other word, right? He's not paying into the pickle jar, putting dollars in the swear jar, right? So that's always
He got a little intense towards the end of the game, but that's because I think he wanted to make sure that we didn't get any silly penalties that would somehow change the course of the game.
And they seem to be pretty disciplined. I've watched a lot of teams this year where when they're up or they're losing big or winning big, the buttholes seem to there's a difference between a-holes and meatheads. Like every team has meatheads. Meatheads are good, but you don't want them to be total buttholes, And
Sure.
Those are the bonehead plays that you just don't want to have when you're playing at high school, college, NFL. It doesn't matter, and you see it, But let's talk a little bit more about Rich Rod. Do you think he's starting to feel a little bit of the pressure, a little bit of the? I mean, I don't think the seat was hot, but he was kind of doing the Rodney Dangerfield thing, right? And to see
Sure.
after the win, he is definitely. Exactly like where he stands and what he's feeling just by within 5 seconds. You're like, oh yeah, Rich Rod is. It really felt like there was some relief here. The guys really showed up, and the fact that they're proven week to week. Next week, I don't know, Eric. They're favorites finally. Finally, they're favorites at home against Colorado.
Yeah.
I mean,
so before we look, let's not look too far ahead.
Right.
But is it okay if we go back and look back at?
No,
I don't want to say necessarily.
We're all over the place because I'm so god darn excited. No, we still have to look at the scores. Let's go through. You go ahead and hit your topic. I'm gonna pull up these scores here while you're doing that.
So not to pat ourselves in the back, and sprain our elbows, but we called some things. We did mention the fan base, and it's disappointing to me. We were talking before the show. I actually feel for the Houston Cougars as a team that, they got to number 22 ranking and the fans just really didn't turn out. That was disappointing and disheartening. We talked about the notion that if we could get, we were so close last week that if Hubbard breaks one or two tackles or is just a step faster getting through the line, it's a whole different run game. And kudos to all of our, running backs. Every one of them played their guts out. A special shout out to Hubbard. I mean, the guy had a cramp on the first play of the game, and I thought, well, he's done. We're going to have to close out with two running backs, and with the way we've been going through running backs, this could get tough. But they all played rough. They all played tough. They ran hard. They ran fast, and you saw the difference. Just that little bit of difference. And that includes Scotty Fox. My goodness, some of the gutsy runs he had, fantastic. We talked about the short and intermediate pass game, that if you could get a little bit of success there, that helps your run. It also helps your long passes. And we saw that with both ends. The run game picked up. Gallagher had some really nice catches. Cam joined in. It just, when you can get success in one area,
Mhm.
excuse me, it opens up the others. We talked about pressuring the quarterback in that we felt we could do that. And my goodness, that just really showed up. Shout out to Jamori. He showed up in a big way. Glad to see him, kind of picking things up and having more success. My goodness, the secondary had a great day. The pick six was insane. So, that was just a phenomenal play. The other interception, uh, that's just the benefits of swarming to the ball.
Right,
So,
right.
so a lot of good things there that we had seen and we'd hoped we would see, and they came to fruition.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at their their PFF scores, some of these guys were stellar, and any grade, I believe, over a 60 is really good. I mean, the 50s are okay.
Mm.
When you get into the 70s and the 80s, you are playing lights out. And to have someone have a PFF score of a 90, I don't think I've ever seen that. And that was Jordan Scruggs, the cornerback.
Hmm.
So, I'm going to go through some of the guys that were, you would think like Reed Carrico at linebacker always has a great outing, and he had a 69.8, and that stands out. But Brandon Siders had a 72, Jamori had a 68.8. He's been on milk cartons. Like where's Jamori? While you're eating your Cheerios in the morning, you're reading the milk carton like, oh, Jamori's missing. We got to find him. Uh, Asani Redwood, defensive lineman, another one, Devin Grant. Asani Redwood had a 76. Grant had a 79. Those are phenomenal scores. When you just go to the offense, you think Scotty Fox would have an 80. No, he had a 70.1. So when you have a score that's that high with Devin Grant at defensive line and Asani Redwood at 76, and because on defensive line, it's hard to kind of think to yourself, how are they getting graded? How are they doing that? When you look at the score of a Scotty Fox or a Diori Hubbard that's like a 74 and a 70, that kind of is a way to calibrate that, because Scotty Fox is our number one. He definitely, 4 weeks ago, we're like, we need to have a quarterback emerge. Well, this guy has came out of the cocoon, and he is just he's turned into a freaking Division I butterfly at quarterback, Scotty Fox. But
A power four quarterback.
there you go, perfect. And now the three-headed monster they had in the backfield of Ash, Hubbard, and Bowers, I mean, they all had decent scores, but Rodney Gallagher the third had a good game. This is probably his best game he's had. I think he played a little better than Weimer or Vaughn, but even Fox, Weimer, and Vaughn played pretty good. I'm trying to think anybody else I'm missing. Justin Smith Brown, he had a play or two, but moving on, I think this is really a lot more. Give a lot more credit to the coaching staff
Mm-hmm.
for building these kids up and not tearing them down, because you heard Rich Rod in the post game say to the kids, "Listen, guys, the outside noise, you didn't listen to it, because they all hear. They you can't turn on a YouTube show that has the West Virginia, anything about West Virginia, whether it's our channel, whether it's Frank Fear here, and Greg and Coach Chris, or if you have, the Locked On Mountaineer Paul, Coos, all those guys, Jersey Ears. You can't do a show without being a little negative after getting the shit stomped out of you for weeks upon weeks. It's hard. It's hard. And that, these kids hear it on social media. So Rich Rod saying what he said, he was kind of, without saying it during the week, say, hey guys, focus on what you need to do, what your job is. Outside noise is outside noise, without saying, these guys are talking shit about you. Hey, this is the opportunity we have this week. I know you guys can, if you know your assignment, you do your job, he does his job, we're going to beat this team. He believed it. They believed it, and they actually made it happen. So let's see what Jersey Ear says and Afton. Afton, yeah, they don't get the milk carton reference. Yes, Afton, I know, but most of our people that watch are old and stupid like we are. So, but yeah, Afton, you're not old, but you work. I think Afton, you still work in a library, right? So she's around newspapers and learned people and leather-bound books that smell like knowledge. But Jersey Ear, Rich Rod's locker room show had me ready to run through a wall. Yeah, Rich Rod can motivate a rock to jump. Absolutely. But Eric, after I went down my rabbit hole about Rich Rod motivational speeches, blowing sunshine up these football players' skirts, what are some thoughts you have? Like from 3 weeks ago to literally like the Death Valley, the lowest freaking elevation you could have as a football program, to literally we're at what's a good high point in West Virginia? What's a good mountain? Spruce Knob.
Spruce Knob?
Yeah, Spruce Knob.
Okay.
We're almost to Spruce Knob,
So it's been about a month, and we were saying, there's a lot of criticism. There was a lot of hate being thrown at Rich and the program. And we said, no, wait a second. There's only so much you can do. What else could he be doing to improve the team, right now, the program for the future, without throwing us into unnecessary risk? And, we thought he was doing pretty good things. Look at this performance and even last week's performance. And like you said, going back to about a month ago where things were really rough, and you've seen a steady progression. And in particular, he's moved some players around. We've seen the advent of the running game show up this game. And just as, kind of like a metric, something you can actually measure. Yeah, thanks. Because you have seen improvement, but that's like saying, are you really getting better, or are other teams getting worse? No, we are getting better. And the two things, it's been since what did we say, 2018, since we beat a ranked opponent. So that's big.
This isn't the fastest lap in a baby pool. This is a team that was 7-1, kids.
Yeah. So. And they were a 7-1 team that was fundamentally sound. So the fact that we were turning them over, that's not something to overlook. The other thing is that we beat them on the road when they were playing under an inspired circumstance.
Yeah.
There's a lot to say there. The final thing I'll say on this, we didn't go through Houston's PFF scores, but when I was doing a little research, we beat them solidly on the PFF scores. Most of our scores were much higher than theirs. But they weren't like playing, like you said, they didn't come out with scores in the 50s. Their scores were solidly in the 70s. We had a bunch that were in the high 70s, and we had a few that were higher. So again, with something measurable, this team has gotten better, and we're playing better, and they put it on the field at a key time to come away with a great win. Now, look, it's not a Big 12 championship. It's not gonna, it isn't the end all game, but it is something to build on. And the nice thing is that people are starting to believe, maybe there is something here, because like you said, we're facing an opponent that is they're 3-5.
Same record as West Virginia. I mean, they're literally when you look at the stats, like points against, points for, it's almost a mirror image of the Mountaineers. Other than the fact that West Virginia beat a good Pitt. I'm going to say good Pitt team. Let me
sure. Pitt. Oh yeah. but definitely.
No, so we talked last week, and we were like, I might sound crazy. You guys might think I'm a nut. I think West Virginia's going to upset somebody. They're going to upset somebody. And you said, I think this is the team they upset. Myself, I was thinking it's going to be Colorado. Okay. I thought Colorado was ripe for the plucking, coming into Morgantown, atmosphere, build on the TCU success, which was a loss. I thought they'd play well, but maybe come up short. Still moving in the right direction. I didn't anticipate them making the steps they did on defense, and the passing. The pass blocking was fantastic. Giving him time to make some plays, opened up the running game. But Colorado is, I still think is the one that they can win. Now, I'm going to share this. Last week, West Virginia, I think, had an 18.9% chance. Okay. 18.9% chance. Now, the win probability has went to 67.7% for the Mountaineers. Okay. So let's get real crazy here. Let's just go with these stats. West Virginia beats Colorado and Dion, Coach Prime. You have two really good teams in Arizona State and Texas Tech. You're going to have, like we talked about, opportunity for national recognition to put the spotlight on the Mountaineers, because they might change that, flex those games to a time that's more optimal for eyeballs. Hey, Jackson, how you doing? Jackson's always on with Mountaineer Paul a couple times a week. And he has an Alabama channel that's fantastic. So if you're you don't have to be a West Virginia fan. If you're an Alabama fan, or just maybe a closet Alabama fan, just check him out, because he is so knowledgeable about college football. But you went from no chance, to maybe there's a chance, to literally, Eric, I think I might have to check myself into like the loony bin, because I think West Virginia, Rich Rod's crazy enough. I'm crazy enough to believe it. What if? And what am I saying, Eric, is what if they win these last four games?
Ooh, easy, Cowboy.
Or three of the four. Three of the four. You're not bowl eligible, but that is momentum going into the next year. Because my biggest fear, Eric, was West Virginia just a flat, cold, dead fish for recruiting. You walk in the room, you're like, what does that smell? It looks great here, but there's an odor. No, it's not losing. West Virginia's winning. And these kids believe it. I believe it. I want recruits to believe it, because guess what? The pocketbooks are opening up. I know he's calling Pat McAfee for a little bit of money here and there, for a little spending money on I'm going to the movies, Pat Mac. Can you give me $20? No, it's not quite like that, Dad, but you know what I'm talking about.
Well, absolutely. It
pop up, get some players, because guess what? Kids want to ball out now for Rich Rod. Colorado's going to lose. Arizona State's going to be a close one. Texas Tech's going to be competitive. They can win these games. I am watching these games with not like this, like it's a slasher movie. I'm watching someone's intestines get rolled on the floor. It's like, oh my gosh, what just happened? Sorry, Eric. I don't even know how people watch this. I'm so freaking all over the god darn place.
So I love the enthusiasm, buddy. I just want to see us one game at a time. If we can pull off a win here against Colorado, that's going to be a great headline. Coach Rod beats Coach Prime. That in itself is going to be very helpful for the recruiting. The notion, see, we talked about this previously. If you're a school like in Alabama, where, look, yeah, we sneeze wins around here. Who doesn't want to go play at a school like that? But the next best thing for recruits is that you come into a program that's right on the cusp, right on the edge of turning the corner and becoming that winning program. And you play a prime role in it. And I think we're seeing that. And And so we're still missing some pieces. We could still benefit from a number of key players. Um,
Yeah.
so I think that's going to help. Something else that's just, I'm just going to say it. I hate talking dollars, but we know we have some players that aren't going to be coming back next year,
Absolutely.
whether they're graduating or they've already entered the transfer portal, and that's okay. I wish them well. Um, but that's freeing up NIL opportunities for incoming recruits. So you get the fact that you've got some money becoming available next year. You've got some positive life, like you're saying, in the performance, not just the potential. That's another, great win for us on the recruiting side. Uh, plus, you know, Rich is starting to get some of his swagger back.
He is.
He
He
had
is.
it
He was
back.
doubting himself, Eric. You could tell he looked like I don't know what to do. Like it was just too much, and I felt bad for him. Because when you're young and you doubt yourself, it's just you can just say I'm inexperienced. I'm gonna learn. But when you're older and doubt yourself, it's a lot harder.
Well, he's mentioned that in post game conferences where he's like, I thought we had a good week of practice. And
Right.
I've heard that from so many coaches. And I think, anybody, I don't care if you coach youth sports, I don't care if you coach professional level. You can see that where teams will have a good practice, before a game, and that for some reason, come game time, they fall apart. And that happens. But I think we've got a lot of things moving forward. We've got a lot here that we can build on for the future. And Rich talked about instilling um, values in the program, and we're doing that. He's doing it. We're seeing it. We're seeing players emerge that, quite honestly, you give them 2, 3 years. If we can keep them, which I think we can,
Mhm.
this is kind of the beginning. This is that 2002 season where you started seeing people start to make a turn. And a lot of those players that were there for 2002, 2003, guess what? The 2005, even into the 2007 season, those were your anchors. Those were the players that you became your foundation. And that's what we're looking for right now. So, yeah, let's keep it rolling. We got plenty of reason to keep building. Um, one game at a time. That's always been my belief. I hope we get to look back, and I promise you, I will be the first one there saying Shane called it. My man called it. But I'll be
I
happy if we can just
once in a
win
while
them one game at a time.
I say so much outlandish shit. Like on the Steelers show, I'm like, what if I was do the what if? I'm like, what if the Steelers like aren't going to be playing bad for they're going to have a good game here. I think that, and they sure as hell did. I didn't think they were going to win, but I thought they would have a better game. No, so let's talk here about. I have the question for you and the chat. Okay, you ready?
Hmm.
With Scotty Fox, do you have your quarterback for the future, or do you continue to shop around? It's a hard one, huh?
No, not
Okay,
hard at all.
let's hear your thoughts.
Okay, so I go back and fact check me on the previous
Yeah.
podcast we've done. I've been a big Scotty Fox fan from early on.
Mm-hmm.
To me, Scotty represents more of the quarterback prototype that Rich wants. He's not as fleet of foot as some of the others that we have, but he's still pretty. I mean, you saw he had some Garrett Green like runs in that game, uh, but he's got a great arm and he's got the intelligence that he can make the reads. So definitely he is the quarterback for the future, but you never put all your eggs in one basket, especially not in this new world of college football where it's pro college football. You want competition. Rich is always big on that. You want everybody to compete because it's not a matter necessarily of complacency, but you want somebody there to push you, especially during the off season. I don't care, and Afton's always good about pointing out that our demographics between me and you means we're going to be making references to things that maybe not everybody gets.
Yeah.
But Larry Bird, Magic Johnson will tell you that when they weren't practicing, when they were home, they were reading the other guy's stats, and it
Yeah.
was pushing them to be better. That's exactly what we need with Scotty and others, because you never know. I don't wish ill on anybody, but injuries happen. My goodness, this has been the worst injury season I can remember in a long
Yeah.
time. But also, you want guys pushing each other.
Well, you want guys pushing each other, but also we had C.J. Donaldson now being very successful with the Buckeyes. Wish him well. I don't. Just because someone moves on, I'm not going to shit all over. Okay, I'm not that guy, guys. People are like, oh, he's not a Mountaineer. He gave you guys a couple good years of running his ass off, taking lumps. So I can't say a bad word about it. But in today's day and age, you have a quarterback like Scotty Fox, has a couple good years in the Mountaineer uniform. There's going to be buzzards just circling Mountaineer Field trying to come in and get him. I know you guys are like, oh, that can't happen. It happens. I mean, he has an agent. Agent talks to Scotty. Scotty talks to the agent. The agent talks to other people. That's the way it works. And money greases the wheels. Right now, you had a quarterback from Tennessee ask for a little bit more scratch. He's making $2 million. He wanted more. They told him to pound sand. He went out to UCLA, beat Penn State. James Franklin got fired, et cetera, et cetera. So, there's a way of measuring the value of these guys. I just hope that West Virginia can groom a kid, teach him. He can be mentored, get better. He's going to be phenomenal in it next year if the Mountaineers can keep him. And that's just it. One to close the segment with, these are guys that 2 weeks ago I was thinking, okay, the cupboard looks pretty bare. But now you open up we got rice, we got beans. I got some frozen chicken back in the deep freeze. There is enough in the pantry to be a good team next year, because you know what? They're not hot garbage this year. They're competitive. They're not going to win a college football playoff game, because they're not going to get in a college football playoff game. But this team 2 weeks ago had no chance in hell of even being on the field and competing with Texas Tech. Now I'm like, this team could upset Texas Tech. This team could upset Arizona State. And now West Virginia's the favorite against Colorado, where last week they had an 18% chance of winning. But I don't know. What is the budget for West Virginia now with the quarterback? Because UCLA is paying their kid $1.5 million, where he made $2 million the year before Tennessee. I don't know what the magic number is for a Big 12 quarterback, but I'm pretty sure it's between $750 and $1.2 million. That's what I've heard, and that's kind of where it's at. I know offensive linemen they're starting is $250. That's $250,000 a year, not $250. So I know Rich Rod probably has someone with a legal pad there, kind of taking the shoes off, counting, and maybe they have a calculator. But I'm hoping some of these kids are retained, because now's the time. If the kids are buying in and winning games, I think it's going to be easier to recruit, because they're not. These mercenaries, it'd be so easy for these kids just to kind of tune it out and think, next year I'm going to try to find a landing spot. Maybe Cincinnati needs me. Maybe I can go play for Kent State. Maybe I can go play for, William and Mary, James Madison. I don't know where these guys are going to play ball. Temple. But if you're coming off a team that's getting their teeth kicked in, I don't think you're going to be moving up in the ranks. You're kind of be moving lateral, or to kind of maybe a softer landing spot. What are your thoughts?
But this topic is one that people, experts are absolutely trying to figure out, algorize, and you name it. Because first of all, we're definitely in sports. I don't care what sport you're playing. We're in a Moneyball era. People are figuring out what are the vital statistics that equate to wins. And in particular, I mean, they're taking it, that's entry level stuff. They're taking it to a deeper level of, okay, based upon your offensive and defensive philosophies, what are the vital statistics? So knowing that, and you can then pick out the players that you need to win, that goes a long way. But then there are other things. Um, we've mentioned before the fact that just the nature of the game, it is a mercenaries environment,
Yeah.
and you've got, and we can't fault the players for that, and it's just the way it is. And if it bothers you too much, totally get it, but you may not like sports anymore, at least not at the collegiate level. But one of the things I think we can offer somebody, especially at this point of the program development, if you come here, you do have a strong chance of competing for playing time. And just the fact that you can get some playing time, you can get some film then to farm yourself around.
Right.
And that's huge, because it's hard to convince another team that if you go to a program and you find it doesn't work for you, it's hard to sell yourself to other programs. That's where a lot of these I shouldn't call them kids, they're players. That's where a lot of times they end up going down a level or two
Right.
so they
Right.
can get on the field. And that hurts them. That hurts them because now it looks like you have to, lower your competition level to get playing time, but then you have to go down a few levels and then you got to light it up. You've got to come up with great footage to then sell yourself back up. And
Shooting the mark.
these
You
these
overshoot.
players don't have the players don't have that long of a shelf life. You're
No.
talking about 5 years. So the idea of having to go down and go up, you might get 2 or 3 of those. And no, you're going to get 2. That's all you're going to get. So yeah, these are definitely things that we can do to help keep ourselves in the hunt for top-notch recruits.
Yeah, and I get back to the comment here that Don made. Scotty will stay. Wilkins will probably leave. I mean, they started here and here where Wilkins was just a little bit ahead of him, and I think it was not really on talent. It was based on Wilkins fits Rich Rod's stereotypical quarterback position more so than Scotty. Scotty he threw some lasers, fantastic balls, only going to get better. Anyways, so guys, this is West Virginia Live on the Voice of College Football. As usual, we're here every Monday at 9. Win, lose, whatever. Season's not happening, we're still here. Thursdays, we have a call-in show. So if you want to call in, maybe come on for a few minutes, say a few things, hey, have at it. We'll put the link in the chat, and you guys can come on in. Diesel Freak comes in once in a while. Jackson Johnson, I'd love to see you come in maybe this week if you have time. Thursday. That's Thursday at 8. Monday, 9 o'clock, guys. We get after it. Colorado is going to be a fun topic because, hey, we're the favorites. Last week I said bet on the Mountaineers. I don't know if they'd win, but I thought they would cover. I'm going to say the same thing again, guys. Put your money down on the Mountaineers because I think they're going to win. Eric, any final thoughts before we go?
Can't wait to get into Colorado with you on Thursday, buddy. Hopefully I can do that show. Got a lot to talk about.
Yeah, best wishes and pepperoni kisses. So as we always end the show, you know what? We're going to end it with, well, what do we end it with, Eric?
Got to show that flag.
Show the flag. Okay. Let's go Mountaineers, and we'll see you on Thursday.